of the things that we talked about in May was a tune-up of your business development activities. You know, the storm clouds, the economic storm clouds are gathering on the horizon. It may not have hit your firm yet. What can you do now? And the overwhelming majority of responses back after that presentation was, well, what do you mean by tune up your business development? How do we do that? Can we go a little deeper? So like all good consultants, I'm here to please. We are diving in a little bit deeper, well, quite a bit deeper, into what I will consider to be best practices of firms, and not only in a recession. The things that I'm going to talk about today are critically important in a recession, but very beneficial no matter what phase or how business is going for the engineering community. So again, as Holly said, if you've got questions, please put them in the chat box, and we'll try to make sure everybody gets as much value as possible from the hour that we're going to spend here today. One little commercial, then no more commercials. As Holly said, it's Two CPAs is a CPA firm, but we do a whole lot more than the traditional accounting and tax stuff, which is generally what I do. I still know how to do accounting and tax. I just prefer not to. And so consulting, financial management, helping firms, helping engineers get more from their firms and more from their careers is our goal, and we do that exclusively. Now, exclusively AEC. I said engineers because this is ACEC, but we have a lot of architect clients as well. Not sure if any of those will be on the line today, but I might make fun of them every now and then, so I apologize in advance. So as I mentioned, we're looking critically at your business development efforts, and subtitle here, not time to be sloppy. During the last big recession, I had a colleague who did a lot of consulting in marketing compare business development in a recession to somebody who's a pretty good swimmer but finds themselves further from shore than they've ever been. If they stay calm and rely on their skills, they'll be fine. They'll make it. But as soon as doubt and distraction starts to slip into their minds, start thinking about, well, what if I get tired? Or what if I get a cramp? Or was that a shark I just saw? Now breathing becomes choppy, erratic, your form goes away, you start wasting a whole lot of energy in going very little distance, and you never make it. And unfortunately, that happens a lot in engineering firms with their BD, because in the effort to try to stay busy, we lose our focus and we start grasping for anything that we can do. And actually what happens with no outside influences at all, just firm behavior being the only thing that's changed in the whole scenario, firms can be self-destructive. I think in the May presentation, I called it self-induced wounds. So we want to make sure that we're not doing any self-induced wounds here as the stakes are high in this latest economic downturn. And this is the prescription for making sure that you all make it to shore. Okay. So let me set the stage a little bit here, build a case for more accountability in business development. Okay. There's been a discussion, and maybe in some firms it's actually an argument about whether business development is an expense or an investment. My response as a consultant has been, it doesn't matter. It's both. You need to be managing it as both. And what I mean by that is, of course, overhead is not typically a good thing for an AE firm. So if you look at your BD as an expense, only a portion of business development is going to be accountable for your FAR overhead rate anyway. And I'm an advocate of keeping overhead low no matter what, even though that may not be advantageous completely. It's a good business practice. Now, if you're on the other end of that coin, the other side of that coin, and you treat business development as an investment, how many of you have investments that you ignore? You know, send your money off to the broker and say, well, I hope it does well. 30 years from now, when I retire, send me some of it back just so I can live, and hopefully there's enough there for me to live on. Nobody does that. I mean, hopefully you're not watching Wall Street go up and down every single day. That's a lot of non-billable time, but investments need to be tracked. You want to make sure that you are investing in high quality assets and high quality firms that do good things. So if you're looking at it as an investment, you need a system to make sure that you're getting the required return on investment, that you pay attention to it, that you look at it and have a risk reward relationship in your business development activities. Okay. It's obviously a big impact on overhead. Maybe the expense of the things that you do in business development isn't so much, but the overhead expense from non-billable time, the principals in a small firm spend a lot of time generally in business development, and they're the expensive folks. And so we see a lot of indirect labor dedicated towards marketing. Some firms break out their business development time as a separate expense category, and many of you that are far need to, obviously, but it has a big impact on overhead, and we can't be wasting time on that payroll expense at this point, okay? You probably all know, but I'm going to reiterate, all clients and projects are not equal. You can get a $50,000 fee from 2 separate projects and have a very different experience as an engineering firm from both of those. Collect the same amount of money, make an entirely different profit, have an entirely different client relationship, have an entirely different internal process in getting those jobs done. We can't just say, well, we're after fees and that's it, and wherever we get it, it's good. Clients and projects need to be selected purposefully, okay? And tying on to that, the goal of good business development is to set your firm up for margin, for profit, not just keep everybody busy with revenue. And I'm going to spend a lot of time over the remaining portion of this hour talking about the goal as driving up the margin, not just expanding your backlog. Okay. And again, more information on that to follow. Okay. One of the definitions, I just want to make sure we're clear, there's not a universal definition in the AE industry for business development, but I found over the years that it's best if we talk about business development as the combination of 3 activities. Okay, business development in this presentation and my consulting is marketing, sales, and repeat business. Okay, a lot of people use marketing and BD interchangeably. Most firms understand when you get into sales mode, but then a lot of people ignore the repeat business aspect of business development and kind of think that their current clients are clients forever. Only until they wake up someday and those clients are somebody else's clients. And then you do realize that that repeat business should fall under business development. But marketing in our mind is putting your name out there, creating your pricing strategies, making the world know, making your firm known to the world. Potential clients, here's what we can do, here's how great we are. Some firms include like public relations in there. It's the spectrum from your website to your pricing strategies to the way you approach the market. Okay. Sales begins when you identify a project. These are RFP responses, interviews, win strategies, putting your team of firms together. This is in the pursuit of a specific job, and obviously that's a dividing line for FAR purposes as well. This is the specific pursuit. And then, where most of the revenue for many of your firms, if not most of your firms, comes from is repeat business. And it's, satisfaction surveys, ongoing communication. I should just kind of put the big envelope around all of that and say doing a really good job. Being easy to do business with engineering firm. And that's important for BD to focus on as well, because when we talk about pricing and pursuits, customer service figures in there in a big way as well. Okay. So what we need to do, and I think this was a very crucial slide in the last presentation in May, is to understand that business development and financial management need to be linked. Okay, now this is tough many times because BD people and financial management people usually think with two opposite sides of their brains. And so the system has to work inside the firm to make sure that we're not, what I want to say, countermanding each other, canceling out each other's efforts, understanding that this has to be a complementary and symbiotic relationship. Okay. If you're going to treat BD as an expense or an investment, you need a measurable plan. Okay? Then financial management comes in to help you track those metrics, measure the success or failure of your BD efforts, and help you decide changes in the process. What kind of changes in behavior are going to be necessary, whether that's a shift in markets or you start looking at different opportunities because the strengths have changed, whether that's more or less money into a particular type of marketing effort or business development effort to enhance the chance that you'll win, the chance that you'll actually get the work. And then, of course, from the pure kind of how much money do we have around to invest and what's year end going to look like, that gross margin coming out of the business development really drives a whole lot of budget and expense decisions for the firm as a whole. So neither of the two groups of people in your firm can do this by themselves. We can't have it self-policing by the BD people, and you certainly don't want a bunch of accountants leading your marketing efforts. So you got to have teamwork. And again, part of that teamwork is making sure everybody understands that it's a crucial step in making sure you get the most return on investment from your business development. Okay. Now, having set the stage for why this is important, let me talk about, and I think the marketing materials, the stuff that Holly sent out about why you should sign up for this, talked about a 4-step plan. And I don't necessarily steps, they're not sequential, and it's certainly not an event. This is a process. And we see the most successful firms, whether again, it's good economic times or a recession, kind of adhering to these 4 activities on an ongoing basis. They're constantly defining their markets and understanding their position in each. We'll talk about that in detail, what that means. They're determining their pricing strategy in each market and understanding that that's a dynamic thing. You can't just set your prices once and know that it's working for you forever, okay? Then they're structuring their BD investments of time and effort, the principal time, the marketing team time, in sync with 1 and 2. So a lot of firms will do a business plan, a strategic plan, and kind of take care of 1 or 2, but then they forget about, well, the people who actually do this have got to follow the plan, actually have to do something so this plan comes true. And that's where 3 and 4 here on this slide tie in, is to organize that BD team and measure the results. And by organizing, I mean helping people kind of stay in their lanes. Because business development is kind of broadly defined and there's a whole lot of activities in that, we find marketing directors and principals and BD reps and salespeople and all kinds of definitions of different job descriptions all running around with their hair on fire in the BD side, sometimes helping each other out, many times maybe not canceling each other out, but we're certainly not getting the synergy out of a well-organized team that we should be getting for such a large and important investment as business development, okay? And again, all of this is ongoing, doing this constantly as you operate your firm, and especially important right now, okay? So first step, define your markets and your position in each. What's a market? Okay, I'm sure you've seen this before, or I've talked about this before if you've been on any of my webinars. Market exists in 3 dimensions, okay? It's a geographic area, a service type, and a client type, okay? Anytime one of those dimensions changes, your firm's position in that market changes as well. Okay, because you might be very great at what you do for ODOT. INDOT over in Indiana hasn't heard of you ever, perhaps. Okay, so can you get work there? Well, who knows? It's a different geographic area. You're going to go down to Kentucky and talk to the transportation cabinet. Geographic area changes, so does your position. Okay. Service type. You might be really great at road design. You might need sub-consultants for bridges. Maybe you got a few bridge engineers. Maybe they're pretty young. You need some expertise. Your service type changes. You've got a whole different approach to a bridge project if you're strong in roadway and not in bridge. Client type, very important right now. Public versus private, developer versus end user. You obviously know that you've got particular expertise and particular history portfolio in a certain client type, and that you can't just say, well, we're good at all of it or we're mediocre at all of it. You have to be able to drill down and understand your market position in all three of these. And many times, this is a useful analysis for firms to start because you've never thought of it in this way. You can't just be civil engineers in Ohio. That's too broad. Too many potential clients, too many potential competitors. Ohio's too big. I'm sure you're not as well known in Cincinnati as you are in Cleveland. And so boiling it down to this level of detail is a very useful exercise for the BD folks in any firm to go into to start. Okay. The three considerations when you're picking the best markets and your position in there. So today, what markets that we have a history in, your firm has a history in, do we expect to stay strong? Okay, some of your markets are going to be, or maybe already have been, very negatively impacted by this downturn. Maybe some haven't been affected at all, but you see the cliff out there. We really need to try to get outside the firm and understand with outside data what we think are going to be the sources of projects. Because again, pricing is important, but you actually have to have projects in order to get those as well and generate some revenue. What projects are we best at executing? Hopefully, there's a market that's staying strong and that you're good at too. Maybe the things that you are best at, the projects that you are best known for, the things that produce the best profits are drying up. And there's internal training. There's a major sea change going on in your firm right now because there's not alignment between strong markets and what you've been, trained to do. And then, of course, what's everybody around you doing? One of the big issues in the last recession was a lot of firms that, in going after projects, started marketing strongly in stuff that they've never done before. We had a whole lot of civil engineering clients that had, no history at all with the DOT, decide, of course, they're going to go into the public market for the first time and never heard of a FAR rate, never knew, the pace and the change and the type of work that is. And of course, blew up, didn't do very well at all. And so you need to understand that if you've got a strong market and you're really good at it, how many other firms out there recognize that and are going to be elbowing in to try to take away the work, and maybe with low pricing being their main approach to how they're going to win for the first time. Okay. So from our previous presentation, I pulled some slides from May to talk about profitability and consistency and the difference in various markets between those two. We've had many years of rapid growth and high profits. We've had record profits in the engineering community for many years up until 2020. But the consistent work may have gotten ignored, the lower margin work, because with the shortage of engineers out there, we found a lot of firms get pulled into too much concentration in markets that now could be negatively impacted by the recession. So we've got to look at, with a fresh look at the balance, let's call it, between these rapid growth, high profit, and the more normal fees and consistent work. PSMJ Financial Survey shows a significant difference in direct labor multiplier achieved market by market. Just grabbed 6 or 7 different types of projects here. These would be nationwide, of course, not the definition of a market, but you can see that some folks in the transportation world are happy in the high twos as far as where you can end up with a multiplier. Housing is in the 3+ and sometimes above 3.5. Water is consistently above 3. Again, not declaring good or bad either way, just emphasizing the point that there are significant pricing differences market to market that you need to be aware of when you're making your business development plans. Okay? Also, these markets respond differently to recessions. You can see in some cases, the average growth in 15 to 18, the good years, were not that much different in 2008 to 11. And obviously we'll have another column to put on here to see how these markets reacted in 2020. But you can see industrial work took a big hit. Housing took a big hit. Commercial users took a big hit. Developers took a big hit. Energy, water, wastewater, not so much. Can you use this template to help you decide where you should be dedicating your time today? Probably. Can't put that blanket over top of all markets and all firms. But certainly understanding that the economic shock that we're experiencing right now is not being universally felt across all markets should help you direct and guide the investment of your time and inform you about what kind of pricing strategies you could implement in order to drive more work and higher margins to your firm. Because when we talk about what markets are going to stay strong, two firms, down the street from each other are probably going to have a different assessment of the exact same client type, service type, and geographic area, because what your firm is worth to the market depends on your particular approach to the market and your particular history with the clients in that market. Okay? Your firm has got value in your client's eyes by what they get from you minus the costs that are incurred by the client. And those costs obviously are the amount of money that you want to be paid in order to deliver that project. That's the fee for services. And then there's this other fuzzy part that should be part of your business development plans, and I called it the hassle factor. It's how easy is it to do business with your engineering firm? Consistent quality, consistent responsiveness, not the rotating door at the project management level, all of those soft costs that are still very important to our clients, but can damage the value that is perceived in the client's eyes. Okay. Now, you can be entirely focused on the cost side of that equation, or you can have some emphasis on the value side. And the value is the specialized knowledge and expertise and that outstanding, and outstanding is the word there, not just excellent. I put, above and beyond service in there as a way to differentiate yourself. It's getting harder and harder because good customer service is kind of table stakes anymore. But it's really that specialized knowledge and expertise that makes your proposal, your presentation, your firm stand out. And if the value of that is so high that the clients can incur a significant fee and still feel good about the value that they received, now you've got a lot of flexibility in your pricing. The goal here, and I'm speaking a few slides ahead, is to separate the gap as far as possible between the value that the clients perceive and the costs that you make those clients pay in order to get your firm, in order to hire your firm. Obviously, you can lower your fees down to your costs and not make any profit at all. Focusing on that value side allows your firm to not only stay busy, but to make a significant profit. And as I said before from the previous analogy, make it to shore, stay afloat in the current economic environment. Okay, so let's talk about this specialized knowledge, specialization. Developing and nurturing a niche is a great thing. higher fees for niche projects because it's the only place a client can get your services or one of the few places and you're really, really good at it. You therefore get a lot of that work and you can be very efficient in completing those projects. Your people are well-trained, done it a million times. And it allows, and particularly important to this discussion, is what's called pull-through marketing. Pull-through marketing is very different than probably most of you have in your current repertoire, especially those of you that are in public markets. Describe. The other side of pull-through marketing is what we call push. And I described it in this slide as pushing your firm on the market. And it's tracking projects announcements. It's getting ready for that next programmatic. It's submitting your qualification statements and responding to the RFPs, right? I mean, it's all responsive. It's all after the fact. And it's the way a lot of work is won. It's the prescriptive way that most public markets work, okay? The other side, however, has got to have some attention, and you should be doing some pull marketing as well. And that's, making presentations, demonstrating your expertise, sending your clients useful information, letting everybody know that you've got unique knowledge and talent in a particular market for those clients who are actually doing that kind of work. For me, doing this presentation is pull-through marketing, right? It's not direct selling. It's saying, hey, I know about this and I could help your firm if you need to know about this too, okay? Again, challenging in many cases because a lot of clients consider engineering firms to be vanilla, to be interchangeable, one for the other, and we fall into that trap too much. But understand, in the second stage of the 4-step BD process, we have define your strong markets. Second one is set your pricing strategy. There is a direct relationship between the fees that you can charge and the percent of work that comes from pull-through marketing. If the clients come find you, I hope you understand that you're in a much better position to influence the fees that they will pay you because they came to you. If you're chasing them, you're down here in 0.1 or 0.2 because you're down there in push world. And obviously, if everybody's pushing on the clients, they can pick low fee and believe that they've got just as good an engineer as the one who had the higher fee. Some focus, some emphasis on pull-through marketing greatly enhances the pricing potential that your firm can charge for the projects. And the BD people, the BD process has to be very aware, has to be focused on those opportunities you have to differentiate yourself from the competition and not get into fee competition, okay? Unfortunately, a lot of clients have conditioned our industry to just sit and wait and follow the rules, okay? They issue RFPs to any firm who wants to listen. They award the contract to the firm. Only one wins, even though hundreds could have applied. Repeat steps over and over again. And the engineering community has gotten crazy focused on the RFP process. Well, responding to proposals doesn't bring you any work. It's the interim stage. It doesn't feed your firm, it costs you money. Okay, so being undisciplined, as the first slide said, getting sloppy in this process and saying, well, we've never done that kind of work before, but we need the work, so let's submit for that one, and let's submit for this one, and let's submit for that one. Chances are you're not going to get any of it. Okay, the only way that you're probably going to get any of it is submitting a really, really, really low fee that you can't get any profit from anyway, that you can't operate your firm at that level anyway. And again, assuming, of course, that fee competition figures in there, that's not always the case. If it's qualifications based, you're not even going to get that far, okay? Why do you need to have some pull-through marketing? Because the firms that are doing the push need to call you and say, hey, I want you on the team because of your development expertise, your traffic group, your survey group is so good, your bridge engineers are awesome. Yeah, all of that stuff is pull-through. and you're getting selected, you happen to be the local hero in the city that the big project is in, and the clients know that. All of that is differentiation that will help you as the firm influence your pricing in a positive way. Okay. So let's talk about the other flip side. We talked about the pros and cons of specialization. There's lots of good things. Obviously, many markets aren't set up to reward specialization as well. Okay, a lot of government funded, the government is the 800-pound gorilla in the market, lots of work, even more emphasis on government work in a recession because they, print their own money and create their own projects. So, it's much more likely to be hourly or cost plus a fixed fee on the contracts. You might be influenced by the client to be doing more tried and true solutions and opportunities to innovate. So we understand that that's muted, but I think any firm that has got public and private mix is in a better position and really needs to understand that their approach to business development has to switch gears depending on the side of the market that they're in, because there's strategies that work for firms that have got some markets that they're niche in and some markets that are commodity. In virtually all of them, your clients want to buy your niche services at the lowest possible price, and then they want to take your commodity services and chop them around, okay? Because anybody can do it, right? Okay. Your firm needs to stand strong and needs to be disciplined and understand that there should be a separate pricing structure for your niches and your commodities, okay? Whatever you're really, really good at, you need to push the envelope on pricing and understand that you do some commodity work so that you don't get too specialized, too many eggs in one basket. But if you can bundle your niche with that commodity and say, well, if you want our commodity services, then you can buy our niche stuff also, and you've got better margin in the niche, you're pulling your commodity services up in margin, okay? And it might even go as far to pricing the same services to different clients, because that perception of value changes client by client. Remember, the 3 dimension of the market being geography, service type, client. You might have a different track record. You might have a different level of attractiveness to 2 very similar clients within the same geography just because of your reputation and the way that you presented yourself to the market. Okay. So all of this means front of mind, recognizing that all of it makes a significant difference when you're getting ready to go to market, and especially again in a downturn as we're in now. Okay. Unfortunately, there's these 2 deadly questions that are out there when we talk about that step number 2 of setting your pricing strategy. Is how low do you think we need to go in order to win the project? And then the other principal in the firm says, do you really think they'll pay that much? And even before you've submitted your fee, you're shooting yourself in the foot. There's the proposal cut that goes on even before the client even knows that you're proposing. And so the pure definition of self-induced wounds. This is that swimmer out from shore starting to panic. Oh my gosh, we really need this one. What are we going to do? Start flailing around and wasting a lot of energy by cutting our fees and making sure that even if we do get it, we can't make any money. We won't stay alive. The mathematical scientific relationship that we're talking out here is called elasticity of demand. And I had to throw this in. I got an economics degree, if you listened to Holly when she said my bio. But understand that most services have a relationship where a reduction in price will increase the aggregate demand for that service. The example I always use is Southwest Airlines, and I'm old enough to remember when Southwest was only in Texas. But when they went nationwide, they created a revolution really in the airline industry, because they charged much less than the big carriers at that time. And some of the big carriers went out of business from the competition, but Delta, American, all of it had to respond, because Southwest's reduction in fees actually had an aggregate increase in the demand for airline travel. Some families that could only afford to drive to vacation now decided to fly for the first time because Southwest went national. So there was actually an increase in aggregate profit because demand went up by more than the aggregate prices went down. Okay. That doesn't happen in the AE industry. Okay. There are no clients sitting around saying, man, I got this great project. I would pull the trigger on it in a heartbeat if I could just get the engineers to lower their fees. Okay. There's plenty of engineers out there at any time that'll go in for a low fee. If you are that firm and you decide to lower your fee, understand that you're just robbing work from somebody else on this call. And then that person does the same thing and steals the job from somebody else from firm number 3. And firm number 3 gets into that downward spiral and steals from firm number 4. And the whole industry just sinks together. Okay. There is no elasticity of demand in the AE services. Okay. All we're doing is self-induced wounds across the industry if we cut our prices. Okay. However, this relationship gets lost in the heat of the moment, because in a lot of large firms that have a very sophisticated and multi-dimensional business development group, where you've got seller doers and full-time marketers and project managers, all of this, they're all believing that they're going after the right thing, that they're doing the right thing. And then there's no real accountability for what comes out of their efforts. And even in small firms, I don't mean to throw you large firms under the bus exclusively. I see this in lots of times. You'll create a pricing policy, say we're going to charge this much for these types of clients. We're not going to go below this multiplier. Then the marketers and the PMs that are doing that particular type of project or been chasing that kind of job rationalize to the principals why this is different. Then the proposal goes in with the lower price, or maybe let's translate it to right now in the industry. We really have to have this one because the backlog in August or September is looking kind of thin. Proposal goes in with the lower price. You actually get that job because of that. And the lower price now becomes the benchmark for all future proposals. Congratulations, you're very busy and you're sinking in the tide at the same time. Don't realize it. You don't realize it at all because everybody's busy working on work. But the margin that you're able to get on that work is pulling you under. And then of course, once the profits don't show up, you've got nothing left to invest in more planned and, I hate to use the word intelligent business development activity, but you can't let yourself get in this race to the bottom. You got to have some process by which fees are set and the enforcement of those fee levels are maintained. So little flow chart, here's what it looks like, okay? Calculate your current direct labor multiplier based on current rates. What do you charge right now? Understand that's what the market is used to. That's what you've been doing. That's what your clients expect to get, okay? How far off are you from market? PSMJ, Zweig White, Deltek, even ACEC. There's lots of sources out there about what typical multipliers are. That chart that I showed just a few minutes ago, it's out there in bucketfuls. You'll be fine. Recognize that you must lose some jobs on price in order to maximize profits. And that's a big issue. That's a significant mindset change for a lot of firms. If the client really wants to hire you, but your fee is too high, engineering community has been conditioned to feel bad about that. You're wrong in some way because the client couldn't afford to hire you. That's actually good news. Now, maybe not if you're struggling for work, but that means that you're maximizing your value in that. The client says, man, we love you. You're great at these type of work. We really want your expertise. Your fee's just a little too high. You want to be the most expensive engineer that your clients can't live without. Okay? That's your mentality. And we'll come back to that in a second. But you're getting close if you're the #1 qualification-based firm, but the client's complaining about your fee. If they complain and they hire you anyway, thumbs up. You did it. That's awesome. For each market, remember the 3 dimensions, Think about the long-term optimum multiplier for your firm and build that into your strategic plan and your annual business plan and your marketing plans. Okay. Then identify the appropriate individual. It may not be one person in the firm. Maybe it's somebody who's very knowledgeable about that particular market, who has authority to grant waivers to this policy. Now, as a past CFO of an AE firm, I always like to be the no person. Well, no, we have our policy. It must be. I grew to understand that markets are dynamic. Clients are changing. The people inside the clients are changing. Excuse me. The competition is changing. There's no policy that is universally good or bad at any given time. Okay. The process is what's important. There was a review. There was a discussion. We tried to maximize our margin on every proposal that went out, and you keep that process up continuously. Okay. One firm that recently went through this, a client, I just want to show you the financial impact of maximizing that profit, maximizing that pricing. They went in a particular market from a 2.92 direct labor multiplier. They actually thought that their target was 3, but once we looked at the actual cost of their people and the billable rates and took a composite of everybody that was in that market, they were only really charging 2.92. And you say, well, big deal, what's 0.08? Well, it makes a big difference, because this firm had 18 people, 62% utilization. They paid their employees on average $42 an hour, a little high. There are a few principles in that thing, but look at the total impact on their profits. If you take 2,080 hours a year times the 62% utilization times the difference from a 3.25 target to a 2.92, that's $322,000 on the bottom line of that firm. Now, no additional cost incurred, no additional people hired, no additional marketing effort necessary other than to be able to get your price up to 3.25, maybe shift to a little more pull through than push, but there's no growth in revenue at all. This is the same amount of revenue, just with higher pricing. And I imagine if there's any of you that are in the mid-teens, even low 20s of people, how would you like an additional $322,000 at the end of the year? With nobody else, with nobody in addition that you've currently got to manage. Small changes in multiplier have big impacts on firms. And obviously the bigger the firm, the bigger the impact in dollars, but the bigger impact, bigger dollar amount it takes to make an impact. But understand, because we're multiplying times 2,080 hours and the number of full-time equivalents, the dollars multiply pretty quickly. Okay. The integration of financial management and business development happens here, where those billable rates are applied to your people's time, and the BD group, the people doing BD, understand how that works in the marketplace. Okay, the BD people in giving feedback to the firm are what I call the canaries in the mine of a recession. How price sensitive are our clients getting? Does our pricing policy need to respond to that? Okay, it's not just do you have a project or not. It's how much resistance are we getting to our pricing level, and do we feel a difference? Okay, that investment in BD time has to be compared to the amount of margin in each of those markets. Because if you're getting, the natural reaction is the markets where we're not getting pushback is where we're going to spend our time. Well, no, that's not correct. Where you're not getting pushback means you're probably not pricing yourself high enough, and you spend more time there, you get more work at a low margin, and it becomes a downward spiral. Okay, the investment in BD needs to be that gap between how much it's going to cost us to do the work and how much we're going to be able to receive from the clients. In order to do that, if you've got repeat clients in a particular market, it's very useful to partner with them, kind of understand where their business is headed, how price sensitive they might be getting because they see their economic model shifting. If you can shift together and maintain the relationship, hopefully it doesn't become, all completely client centric and mission impossible for the engineering firm. Okay. Now, in order to do that, the financial management group needs to start tracking bookings separately from revenue. And probably many of you, if not most of you, do this already, we hope. As soon as a new project is entered in the accounting system, backlog goes in. These are the fees we've been contracted, we just haven't worked it off yet. Okay. Revenue, obviously, is when the work is performed and you've done the work and you've actually created income from that. Okay. Then you need to make sure, because you're teaming with folks and you've got sub-consultants perhaps, you're subtracting off the sub-consultants and reimbursable expenses to get just to the fees that your firm gets to use. Then this key aspect, the key term, and we're going to come back to this in a second, track the gross profit sold. And the gross profit sold is the profit in the system at the time the job is initiated. So it's your net fee booking that your firm gets to use minus the expected direct labor that you're going to spend in order to do the job. That's how much profit you should make on that firm. Then how effective your BD is, that's again, marketing, sales, and repeat business, is your gross profit sold from the competitive proposals divided by your business development costs. And there's the math. There's the how we're measuring our ROI on our business development activities. Okay. Again, the goal is to not keep your firm busy. The goal is to keep your firm thriving, not only alive, but swimming strongly towards the shore. And just, raise your hand if I've overused that analogy at this point. I understand. It was good. I liked it back in 08. But the goal here, obviously, is to not just keep everybody spinning. It's to make sure that your firm is benefiting from the work that you're bringing in. And that concept of gross profit sold, and I would put slide 28 here as the biggest, most important piece of information in the whole presentation. So if you've printed it out or you've got the PDF that Holly sent out yesterday, put a big circle around this, because it's a foundational change in many firms' approaches to business development. Okay. We're not selling fees. We're selling gross profit sold. The contracted fee minus the expected direct costs, the profit you expect to make. Okay. My goal, if you're a key person in the business development world of your firm, is not to pursue the biggest projects. Biggest projects usually come with the biggest cost too, to do the job. Okay. My goal is to maximize the gross profit sold. Even if I'm getting it $5,000 at a time, if I only have to spend $500 to get the work done, do as many of those as you possibly can. Okay. Might feel good to get the $500,000 fee, $500,000. But if you have to spend $499,000 in direct labor, you've done yourself no good whatsoever. In fact, you've spent so much business development time chasing that big job because so many other firms are going to be after it. You've actually, again, had the self-induced wounds. Okay. So I want to show you real quick what this looks like in a couple of firms. I'll scroll here quickly. These are actual numbers from a client firm that does this. They have their accounting system set up to track their marketing costs separate from their sales costs, separate from their client management costs. And again, client management is outings and, doing things for your current clients. They spend about $650,000 a year on all three of those. Okay, when they started tracking their gross profit sold, they had non-competitive work. That's just client call you up and say, hey, I got another project for you, coming mostly from that client management world, of $3.4 million. And gross profit sold, and again, this is not fees, this is fees minus cost, so it's a decent sized firm, $4.25 million from competitive, for a total potential gross profit of $7.65 million. Okay. So they take their competitive sales divided by the top two costs, their marketing and sales, and find out that they're making about $7.8 in margin for every dollar spent on competitive situations, because they're figuring the marketing and the sales are mostly focused on the competitive situation. They don't have to go sell to their repeat customers. And then, of course, they figured out from their non-competitive sales, they make 4 times as much. $33 for every dollar spent on maintaining your client relationships. Okay. Now, I can't say that those are universal numbers and that your numbers will look the same. I'm just saying this is great information to pour into your business development plans. Where do you spend your money? Well, on our current clients, obviously. If this is the firm, go get that repeat business. They're the ones fueling the profits of the firm. And again, maybe you don't have that type of situation, but this is actually going on inside AE firms. And I just wanted to show you an example. One other example is a little broader. And I know this print got pretty small. Hopefully you can see it on the screen or look at it on the PDF. This is a firm that promotes themselves, a client firm that promotes themselves as a commercial development civil firm. And the reason why they say that they do mostly commercial development is it is the busiest marketing activity that they do. They proposed, this is last year's numbers, they proposed $1.85 million in commercial development work, which was $600,000 larger than the next one, which was roadway design, and nearly double that of number 3, which was public survey work. But if you go down and look through the rankings of the net fees contracted, so proposed versus contracted, there's a cut there because they didn't win every job they proposed, and their direct labor costs that were budgeted and the gross profit sold and their multiplier and their selling costs, they're actually better and get more profit from roadway design. Overall rank 1.8 on the roadway design. They're a better roadway firm than they are commercial development. Given the way the market responds to their excuse me, I shouldn't say they're better at it. They have more potential profit in roadway design than they have in what they consider to be their wheelhouse, commercial development. And if you look at it, commercial development with I think that's a 2.4 there, rank is maybe second. But if you look at the GPS ratio, now of course gross dollars count, but they make quite a bit more money based on the amount of marketing effort that it takes on landscape design, which is a teeny aspect of their business, than the one that's bringing in the most fees. And almost more than the roadway design piece. This information turned this firm's business development on its head. They were very much pushing commercial development on any developer they could find. Hire me, cold calling, pushing themselves. This really helped them reorganize their efforts and reorganize their investments to direct their time and energies at the places that were going to be most beneficial and very eye-opening in the analysis. Now, of course, accounting has to be set up to be able to track and put the data in each of these columns. But if you use Deltek anything or Agera, or it's not rocket science, it's not difficult to do. What it takes is diligence. What it takes is not being sloppy. What it takes is taking it seriously. Not panicking, 300 yards from the shore. This is information that you need in order to make sure that you're getting maximum benefit from your BD efforts. Okay. So taking all that, pouring it into a plan. Okay. This is a pot, build it from the bottom up. So the people that are doing the marketing, bringing in the work, have ownership and take responsibility. Okay. Then there's got to be at least some degree of third-party review. And maybe the CEO is one of the big rainmakers too, so that person's probably not good at, they're too close to it to check for reasonableness, but it's got to be achievable and reasonable without being comfortable. Okay? We don't want people on coast. And remember, which we're going to talk about in the last section here, and I know I'm running a little long on time. Hopefully I understand if you got to dump off at 11, I understand. We've got just a few slides left, I promise. The budget is the least important part of the business plan. Hundreds of firms do budgets and plans at the beginning of each year, and then do nothing different behavior-wise to make that budget come true. Okay, and what we're really looking at is the difference between a forecast and a plan. Okay, you can do forecasts all day. That's the results that you think will happen if you just keep doing what you're doing. Most marketing plans are really forecast, and it's a big waste of time. We're just going to stay the way we are, and the economy is going to dictate to us how much work we get. Well, what if that's not enough? What if that's too low a pricing? You need to make a plan, because a plan says we're going to change our behavior in these better ways, and this is what we think is going to happen because of it. We're going to reallocate our time, reallocate our investments, and the plan in doing that drives our revenue. So now you're in charge of your firm. You haven't abdicated authority to the market to make your firm into whatever it wants it to be. It could be 50 people, it could be 5 people in a few months if you just let the market have control, right? So got to make a plan, okay? 3 different levels, okay? Many firms do, I would recommend a strategic plan, but that's not really what we're talking about here in this presentation. This is kind of nearer term. What are we doing now? An annual business plan is, you need one of those. Which clients, quality type clients are you going after? But right now, when the chips are down, we really need diligence, and we need ongoing communication. We need instant adjustment if possible from our monthly sales meetings. Go, no-go discussions. The attention to business development goes way up, because it is crucially important at this time to make sure that you're not wasting your time and energy. Okay? Now, in those monthly sales meetings, the 4th step in all of this is organizing your team and making sure that the new behaviors are being reinforced, bad behaviors are being disincentivized, and everybody's not canceling each other out. Too many cooks in the kitchen, you know what they say, right? So crappy soup. We don't want anything like that in our AE industry, in the AE firms, okay? So principles of your firm, you do not have to write every proposal. Should not, okay? It's not the highest and best use of your time, because you should be doing this stuff instead. The front end of the marketing, defining your firm's image, doing pull-through marketing activities, win strategies for the big proposals that you believe are going to drive a lot of margin. You probably lead the negotiation team. And crucially, in that repeat customer side of the business, that 3rd aspect of business development, you are the client sponsors. You are the folks that are staying in contact with clients, even though you may not be working with them right now. You are the pressure relief valve for the projects that are feeling a little sticky. Things are not going real well right now. So you need to be available to those clients to keep them close. Okay? They love you. Don't give them any reason to stop. Okay? Principal time's got to be spent on that. Okay? So many firms get stuck in the elephant trainer model. Okay? The elephant trainer feeds the elephant, and it's easy when the elephant's small, okay? But what if they do a really good job at feeding it? High quality food, the thing grows like crazy. And what happens to the firm's appetite as it grows? And what happens when the trainer retires, okay? You get stuck in that. It becomes all about you, and you're the main rainmaker, and then you pull out, or you drive yourself nuts trying to feed the elephant constantly. With whatever happens to come down the pike, you push yourself into push marketing, and you start feeding your firm bad projects. And the elephant might eat it, but it's not liking it, and it's not growing, and it's not healthy because of that, okay? Can't get trapped. To break out of this trap, everyone in the BD team needs to be organized and have some involvement in making sure that the firm is getting fed the right kind of projects at the right pricing, okay? So then we find, if we're going to break out of that, let's get some full-time marketers. Okay? I don't know how many of your firms have full-time marketers. PSMJ's got some interesting information about this. Firms with full-time marketers spend more than twice firms that don't as a percentage of revenue. Okay, Firms with full-time marketers are universally, maybe not everybody, generally less profitable, okay? So why do these categories of firms almost always have full-time marketers? If you got more than 100 employees and you get more than 20% of your revenue from government clients, why do we have full-time marketers? Well, because the feed the elephant scenario is broken badly at that stage. You can't feed 100 employees with the elephant trainer model. It probably can't feed 50 well. It's just you get to 100 and then you start to drive yourself nuts. And government projects are really labor intensive to get done. The amount of time spent feeding takes multiple people, takes the efforts of many, okay? So then you have to think, okay, well, if we want a firm of that size and we're doing government work, what kind of people are going to make those best full-time marketers, okay? Well, is it the marketing director coordinator and what do they do? Is it the people I call bird dogs out finding the work and identifying potential leads? Or is it dedicating the people who can actually close more full-time? The answer is all of it. The best organized firms have people doing all three of those things, but not crossing over and canceling each other out and confusing the market and the clients about who's doing what, okay? So again, talking conceptually about organizing your team, here's down in the weeds the way we see it work best, okay? The marketing director is an overhead position, okay? Not expected to write the proposals, not expected to go out and meet the clients, okay? It comes after a certain size has been achieved for your particular markets, maintains that key marketing material, the project descriptions, the resumes, the client testimonials, reviews major proposals for branding and attractiveness and consistency with that, coordinates marketing opportunities with, and again, marketing, remember, is not BD, marketing is that front end, website to pricing, coordinates the development of the annual marketing plan, manages the customer relationship management system, and I'm not talking about software there necessarily. I know there's lots of software out there, some good, some not so much, but you need a CRM system to make sure that your principals are staying in touch with all the clients on an ongoing basis, and then facilitates the BD meetings, which today have got to have that super emphasis on making sure you're getting good information and getting value from the time spent, okay? A marketing meeting is different from, and should be different from a sales meeting, okay? Marketing meetings and sales meetings can be alternated in small firms because you don't want to spend all your time in meetings, and a lot of people will be in both. But from a marketing point of view, keep the marketing emphasis separate from the sales side. Key current contact results from key current clients. Okay, this client's happy, this one's not, this one's got work coming, this one doesn't. Opportunities that are going to translate soon into sales opportunities. Pending go, no-go decisions based on pricing. And of course, organizing yourself for conferences and marketing activities, keeping the firm well known in the marketplace, okay? Very different from sales meetings. What status are we in our major proposals? These are the win strategies. These are resources needed to win, putting teams together, debriefs on recent losses, debrief on recent wins, sales results versus targets, and adjustments that are required because of that. Why did we lose? Why did we win? How is that affecting our bottom line? A financial management person has got to be in the sales meetings to make sure that the right data is getting in the system to give you those 2 spreadsheets that I just showed you so that you can actually track the results of the outcome of your sales investments. Not so much in the marketing side. Marketing side is early on in the process. The sales meetings are crucial, okay? How do we keep the BD more effective? Okay, here's keeping everybody in their line. We know that even in their lane, I should have said, even in big firms, there are seller doers. Okay, seller doers, bring it in, stay with the project, get it done. It's just part of the wiring of the engineering world. It's somewhat a limitation to growth in some firms, but I'm not advocating that we eliminate it, okay? but there's got to be some tracking and measurement of the efforts that the seller doers are putting in for BD. They have to have a role built into your plans, okay? And we have to track that internally in the sales meetings to make sure that everybody that does selling and doing is balancing their selling and doing, so that you don't get your firm on this crazy up and down curve. We're selling for a while, and then we're all doing for a while, and then we run out of work and we all got to go back and sell. That's a roller coaster you don't want to be on. So the accountability of those sales meetings is crucial for those seller doers, because they're not always conscious. They're 50% or more billable, and so they need to know. They need to realize that the firm is depending on their selling efforts just as much as their doing efforts. Okay. Then the full-time BD reps, and I'm calling these the sales people, track and measure efforts on project pursuits, maintain the database of the clients who are going to have some work, and are out there in the marketplace feeding information on their success and failure and the reasons why back into your GPS scorecard. We're being more successful in this market. These clients really don't like us anymore, or we're not doing the right fees. All of that information gets put back into the system so that the sales meetings are effective and you can make the adjustments. Then the marketing director, I think, as I've already described, the customer relationship management system is established there. The marketing plan is finalized. Keep the brand consistent, keep the marketing material up to date. Make sure that the image of the firm is accurately reflected in what the outside reps are saying about your firm. You know, if they're saying, hey, we are an awesome commercial development firm, but your business plan says, hey, we're going after a whole lot more roadway design this year, we need to change the message. You need to get that out there to the outside reps. You need to make sure that they have shifted their focus on the projects that the plan says the firm should be emphasizing. Okay? And if all of that comes together, we know what markets we're strong in, we know what markets are strong, we know what our pricing strategy is, and we have a system for tracking it to make adjustments as needed, and we keep everybody in our lanes, keep everybody focused, no running around with our hair on fire, as I said before, BD will be truly more effective. Many firms have a system and discipline at executing this well themselves and find themselves in a difficult position because the economy has changed. Okay. If you're doing all of this and the revenue is still shrinking, it's probably a long-term plan to become more diversified. Excuse me. And short-term changes are going to be tough. But if there is any of this that seems to be a problem, like, hey, we just don't do that, that's a lever to turn. That's a way in which you can improve your process and get more out of your BD at exactly the time that you need it, which obviously is right now. Okay? All right, I apologize. I'm 10 minutes over. That's my story for today, and I'm sticking to it. It does work. It is game-changing for a lot of firms, has been game-changing for a lot of firms. Feel free to ping me email-wise or phone. I'm in the office about half the time and home half the other time. If you noticed on slide 38, there was reference to a handout. If you ping me and ask me for the handout, that's one way I know that you were listening and made it to slide 41. And I'll be happy to send you an Excel spreadsheet that has a great format for a marketing plan. Okay, little value added piece in my pull through marketing here. So, Holly, any questions in the chat that we need to address before we sign off?
Let me see. I don't see any. Is anybody that's on the call, does anyone have any questions to ask Brad while we have him, if you have time? If you do, you can put it in the chat box.
Or send it to me directly. Again, it's not a, like I said, it's the marketing plan here is not an event. It is a process. You should be doing this all the time. And anytime you run into a wall or a barrier in your process, we're always around, happy to help.
Awesome. It doesn't look like we have any questions, so we'll just let people reach out to you directly.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your time and energy again. Stay tuned for another iteration of whatever you want to talk about. Give me some feedback. Always happy to support the ACEC Ohio.
Thank you so much, Brad. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. You too.